Hello and welcome. This is a Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game progression series. I'm the White Tower Watchman. So, this next quest is the Long Dark. After we got through the doors of Durin and Watcher in the Water, we're finally entering Moria for the last 3 quests of the 6 total quests in the cycle. So basically, Khazad-dûm introduced us to Moria. Then we started an adventure in the Dwarrowdelf cycle. We played 3 quests in the foothills of the Misty Mountains. That's where we had our mountain encounter set. We got Arwen for a couple of quests as an objective ally. And then we got her as an actual ally in Spirit, the Spirit Sphere. And now we're actually journeying into Moria. So, we start with the easiest of the 3 quests called the Long Dark. In every cycle, there tends to be one quest that's sort of like a good quest that you can just, if you got a group of friends you're teaching the game, you can just grab the quest, play it, and it's not, there's no quest in this game that I would say is like super easy, but it's not as difficult nearly as all of the other ones. So like in the first cycle, it's probably Hills of Emyn. In the second cycle, it's the Long Dark. In the third cycle, it's Encounter at Amon Dîn, and so on and so forth. So there'll usually be one. In the 5th cycle, it's Mount Graham, Escape from Mount Graham. So there'll always be one like that where you can just pick it up, and it's like a little bit easier than all the other ones. And then there's usually like a hard boss battle as well, and then there's everything in between. So this is the easy one for this cycle. The next following quest is called Foundations of Stone, and they kind of go together because they're both like, the first one like we're traveling through Moria, and the second one we go really deep into Moria, and then finally the last one we have a boss battle with the Balrog, so with Durin's Bane. So this is the first one of those, and a lot of people get it mixed up with Foundations of Stone because they're so similar. Foundations of Stone is like a more complicated, more difficult version of this quest. It has the same overall theme, and I would recommend using both of these quests just as I would recommend using Into the Pit, Redhorn Gate, and Road to Rivendell as deck testers. They're all great deck testers. Amazing, actually. And you know what? 7th level Watcher in the Water and Flight from Moria, those are all good deck testers as well. It's just they have a little bit more randomness to them. Like, they're more focused on, like, the 7th level and Watcher in the Water are like just a really quick gunfight, right? It's just a big steel on steel kind of skirmish. And then the Flight from Moria is an overall good deck tester, but there's a little bit of randomness with the quest cards. So it can throw off, like, if you're just trying to guess, like, gauge how well your decks are against like just an average run-of-the-mill quest, then you want to pick things like Journey Along the Anduin, Into the Pit, Long Dark, Foundations of Stone, Redhorn Gate, those kind of things. Road to Rivendell. I use Journey Along the Anduin, Into the Pit, and Foundations of Stone more as my 3 like medium difficulty deck testers, more than probably any other quests, if I'm building with early card pool kind of stuff. Foundations of Stone is sort of like probably the hardest of those. It's like kind of like the ultimate test of like everything you have in the card pool up until that point before the big Balrog fight at the end. So here's the decks we're using. This is the whole gimmick around this quest revolves around lost effects, and basically you have to make lost tests to see if you're lost or see if you're not lost in the Mines of Moria, or in Moria I should say, and that has to do with just the more cards you have in your hand, the easier it is to pass those tests. If you draw a bunch of cards, you'll pass every test and you'll beat this quest without ever getting lost. So the key is just to put every card draw effect you can in your deck, and you should do fine. So we have pretty much all our basic stuff. I'm going to go through the new cards, and then I'm going to show you the decks we use. So I should mention, I forgot in the last video, it was the first time I forgot to mention a card in a video, but Resourceful is a card in Watcher in the Water that's really, really important. It is the central card for every Secrecy deck, because for 1 cost, you play it on a hero if your threat's 20 or under, because it's Secrecy 3 with a cost of 4, and then that hero collects 1 additional resource during the resource phase every single round. So it's like immediately boom. It's probably the second best resource card in the game, other than Steward of Gondor. If you're, well, I mean, obviously the condition there is you got to run Secrecy. But a lot of times I'll have like my power deck, like Leadership or Tactics, will have like Steward of Gondor, and that'll be like your high threat Valor kind of deck. And then if you want to run your other deck is Spirit and Lore, which is like your more incognito Secrecy deck, they can both use Steward of Gondor and Resourceful, and you pretty much are good on resources after that. I would even consider getting 2 packs of Watcher in the Water, the physical cards. I would consider that, because if you play two-handed or you play 2 players, that way you have 2 copies of this card. Obviously you could proxy it, but I'm saying if you could find Watcher in the Water, like if you could find an extra pack from somebody for like $5 or whatever, I'm still to this day considering getting an extra Watcher in the Water, just because this is the one neutral card that I would share between 2 decks more often than anything, And I almost always play two-handed with different spheres in each deck. That's probably like the best way to play this game, because it's better to have 2 different spheres than one of the same, I think, most of the time. But Resourceful, man, that is like the one pack I've considered getting twice. If you're, it's not that big a deal. I mean, it's definitely an easy card to proxy, and it's, if you're strapped for cash, or I would highly recommend collecting the entire game first. But I'm saying if you're an absolute enthusiast that like loves this game and you have all the physical cards, this is probably the one pack I'd recommend getting 2 of, just to get the card, like just to get a bunch of them. But 99.9% of the time, you can build decks without sharing neutrals, like 99.9% of the time. Alright, so that's from Watcher in the Water. The new, there is no neutral card in the Long Dark, because we get 3 lore cards instead of 2 as we usually do. So the new hero is Hama. He was so powerful that they actually had to errata him. Basically, he has the same stats as Legolas, except he doesn't have range, and he's a Rohan instead of a Sylvan. And after Hama is declared as an attacker, you return a Tactics event card from your discard pile to your hand, and then you choose and discard 1 card from your hand, so that he switches a card out every time. And you can keep recycling Feint. Like if you say you play Feint, okay, goes in your discard pile, enemy doesn't attack you, then he attacks him. He doesn't even have to kill the enemy. He just has to keep feinting it over and over again. And you could also do that with Thicket of Spears, and that's what was called the Hama lock deck, where you can basically just lock down attacks for like the entire game. You could play events that make all enemies engage you, then you could lock down the entire enemies across the entire board for the whole game. But the problem is, it was so powerful and game breaking that they had to errata it. And I remember when this guy first came out, people were like, "Oh no, it's not that good. It's not that good." Well, apparently somebody thought it was, because they made him. It was so strong they had to actually errata the card. Limit 3 times per game for the group, and they did for the group, so that way even if you pass him around with Desperate Alliance, just like you would Lore Aragorn, you still only, even if he dies and comes back in play, it becomes a new Hama, it doesn't matter. It's 3 times you get to trigger the effect on any number of Hama cards controlled by any number of players. And you get basically 3 Tactics events you get to recycle. He's still extremely powerful though. I mean, I'd still play him. Alright, and then your new Tactics cards are, we'll do Leadership first. Your new Leadership cards are Aristor, one of the most powerful. I mean, this was a great pack for cards. This and Foundations of Stone were both amazing packs to grab for cards, actually. You get Aristor, so he's one of the most powerful card cycling abilities in the game for Leadership. he makes it easy to run multiple uniques, because if you draw that unique and you already have it, you can just ditch it for another card. So we're going to run 2 of him, even of himself. If you ran 3 of this guy, that would be great, because he could just always just ditch the extra copies. And then he has a good hit point sink for like archery damage and some willpower too. Okay, and then the other card in the long dark is Fresh Tracks. Okay, after enemies added to the staging area, deal 1 damage to enemy. Players ignore the enemy while making engagement checks this round. This is another way you could pop 2 hit point goblins with Thalon. Just, so in a direct damage deck, this is very good. I like this card. Argalad, Thalon, Expecting Mischief, and then the Gondorian Spearmen with the spears. Later you get the spears in the 3rd cycle. You can do so much direct damage before attacks even come through. Okay, new tactics cards are Airborne Battlemaster. This has been errated a few times. You pay 3, he comes in play. He gets +1 for every other Dwarf ally you control, limit 4, so he can go up to 5. He's good, and you could even throw a Dwarf Delph Axe on him, he'd be a 6. Maybe 2 Dwarf Delph Axe on him if you want him to be a 7. Then he could be like your big hitter, like your big, come in there, 3 cost in a Dwarf deck. He's probably better in like a lore tactics deck where you can play like 3 of the Erebor bookkeepers or whatever they're called. Those 1 cost this guy. If you play him with Erebor Record Keeper, you play 3 of those and then you play him in, and he's just like really buffed up. And then we have, I think it's actually a attachment if I remember right. Ring Mail, real solid. Dwarf and Hobbit character restricted. You can put 2 ring mails on if you want that double mail. 1 hit point, 1 defense. Probably not best on Gimli. He probably prefers the Citadel plate. But for everybody else, I'd probably go with this. It's cheaper. Good. This could be good on a cross Hobbit deck. Bilbo and Frodo are your choices right now, and gives them a little extra hit point sink there. Yep. Then for this deck, it's pretty standard. We're running 2 Aerosaur, 2 Faramir, 2 Calabrian Stone, 1 Sword that was broken, 3 Sword of Gondor, 2 Horn of Gondor, and all that is going to be made. This Aerosaur is going to make this deck so much more powerful than it was before, because now all those extra dupes of unique cards we can just chuck. Okay, the weapons I'm using are 2 Blade of Gondolin and 2 Dunedain Marks, because there's a lot of orcs in this quest. In fact, we're pretty much exclusively fighting orcs, because there is 2 cave trolls in here, great cave trolls. As long as we keep our threat under 38, we're fine. Then I went heavy on events here. Our usual, 20 events. Grimmerzal will run as a 2. Okay, real standard stuff. And then over here, so the new spirit cards are it was Ever My Heart Rises, I believe. Yeah, Ever My Heart Rises. So you attach a dwarf character after you travel to a mountain or underground location. Ready attached character, reduce your threat by 1. This is awesome. Say you're running 3 of these, you draw 2 of them. You put it on a dwarf character. It's free. Get it ready every time you go to an underground location, which is going to be pretty much like every round if you want to. Lowers your threat by 1, and also it's free. And if you have anything that discards attachments, you could protect more valuable attachments as well. In a dwarf deck with 3 heroes, I would run 3 of these. Like, that would be really good. Maybe not always, but it's definitely good. Out of Sight. Okay, so this is a secrecy card in Spirit. Secrecy 3, so most of the time it's going to cost 2, otherwise you pretty much don't want to play it. Enemies engaged with you cannot attack this phase. This is awesome. So, like, you know, Secrecy 3, good meal, makes it free on Frodo. Um, then you just don't get attacked that round. It's basically a more expensive, or less expensive if you're in Secrecy, version of the Thicket of Spears. You could actually make a Hama deck with Thicket of Spears and this, and you could run the Dwarf that has a Spirit and Tactics icon if you have 5 dwarves in play. I think his name's Ori. And then you could play both of these. The problem is getting into Secrecy at that point. Maybe run like run like a low cost. What's another low cost? Well, you could run Mary, and then a bunch of dwarf allies, like a crap ton of dwarf allies, or just put a. You know, you wouldn't have to do that really. You could just it'd probably be easier just to run like two tactics dwarfs and a. Well, actually, just run 2 tactics anything low threat like Hama, Mary, and Eowyn, and then now your threat's 21. Find a way to get into Secrecy like Gandalf or something like that, and then now you can play these and the Thicket of Spears, and you could recycle the Thicket of Spears, and you could get 9 total locks every round. That you would just have to get a Song of Wisdom on the table. That's not that big a deal. Or not Song of Wisdom, excuse me, Song of Travel. Okay, and then the lore cards, there's 3 of them. We'll save the best for last. So first we get we're going to save the best for last. Love of Tales. So after song card's played, exhaust Love of Tales to add 1 resource to attached hero's resource pool. Again, this is a card that had to be errated because it made super powerful decks. But really nice card. You can start building song decks there. I've never done it myself really, but there is definitely a song deck that you could play with that thing. Our second of 3 lore cards is Word of Command. So I've built decks with Word of Command where you just, it's like leadership lore. You sneak attack Gandalf, you do damage to something or lower your threat. You exhaust Gandalf. You pay, so you're paying 1 leadership, then you pay 1 lore. You pull another sneak attack into your hand, then maybe you got another leadership hero. You sneak attack him again, and that can get you like a really powerful start. Take out like 2 enemies at the beginning of the game, or lower your threat by 10 in the first round and play Gandalf twice, once in questing, once in combat. That can be really powerful. This also comes into play later when we get some of those cards in the 7th or 6th or 7th cycle, where like the Grey Havens and the Harad cycle, where you start getting cards that you pay for with 2 different types of resources and then do something extra powerful. There's another card, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like a card that works with leadership and lore, where like you pay 1 cost to search your deck for a card, and then you pay 3 more to search your deck for another card, and then I think that's how it works, and then you can pay for this as well. And if you just have a bunch of leadership and lore resources, you could get like all these cards out of your deck and just keep playing Gandalf over and over and over and over and over again. So that's a good deck. Anyway, very simple stuff here. Oh, and the third lore card is Warden of Healing. This is one of the best. With Elrond, this is one of the best healing cards in the game. He's a Gondor healer. He's got 1 hit point, 1 defense, so he's really squishy, but you exhaust him to heal 1 damage on 2 different characters, instead of the 2-on-1 hero like the last healer we had. What was her name? It was Daughter of the Nimrodel. So I like him better for the decks that I build because I tend to play more questing decks, which take more damage from like uh, poke damage, like deal 1 damage to all exhausted characters, like that kind of stuff. Treachery damage, uh, archery damage, things like that. He's better for that because he can spread the healing around and do one on 2 characters rather than 2 on 1 hero. And also he can heal allies, which is good. Um, and when Elrond's on the table, you heal double, you heal extra every time you heal something. So he would heal 2 damage on 2 different characters, which is amazing. Um, and I just run one of him in this, just as like an insurance policy in case I need some healing. Um, maybe I draw, maybe I don't, but either way, he kind of makes all their healing obsolete for a long time. What he's susceptible to would be ally discard, ally damage, things like that. Okay, and here's my spread here. I did through 2 good meals in here and 1 Song of Travel. That way I could potentially get Bilbo to be a dual sphere, and then I could use Good Meal for Galadrim's Greeting and Lorien's Wealth. And I threw 2 Lorien's Wealth in here because I want extra card draw in this quest. This is very important to draw cards, so that's why I threw 2 of those in there. So there's my little event package there. Everything else is pretty much how we've been running it. So those are the decks. Now we can play the quest. Shuffle everything up. And draw our opening hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I like what I'm seeing. Just get organized here. So this is really good. The fact that I drew Aristor early is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm very confident we're going to beat this. So, let's get the quest set up here. It says, oh, lag. Journey in the Black Pit. Your party is scouting the Mines of Moria, searching for signs of orcs, dark tunnels, and twisting passages spread out in all directions. A labyrinth maze that you could wander forever if you take the wrong path. First player attaches cave torch to a hero of his choice. Okay, I'll put that on this guy. Could go on anybody, we'll just put it on him. Flip. 13 quest points. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you discard X locations, or X is 1 less than the number of players in the game, minimum of 1. So a 2-player game is the sweet spot because you're going to get 1 in a 1-player game, you're going to get 1 in a 2-player game. Add those locations to the staging area. Shuffle the other discarded cards back in the encounter deck. Each location gets +1 threat. If the player's quest unsuccessfully, trigger all lost effects in play. So until we get a location, there it is. Boom, we discard it. We add the staging area, and we shuffle everything else back in the encounter deck. Well, there's nothing, but we'll give it a shuffle. Okay. And now we'll get started here. So, first round. Boom. Okay, first player draws an extra card. Now remember, this is 5 threat. Everything gets +1. It'd be nice to take it out. Let's go ahead and let's play a Campfire Tales. Each player draws a card. Oh, there's sneak attack. That's nice. Glad I played that. We could be really greedy and like sneak attack Aristor in the quest phase, quest for 2, and then use his ability draw more cards. Try to dig for the steward. Might be worth it. I don't know. And then over here, is that? Oh, let's actually play the Horn of Gondor on Aragorn. We'll play on him. There we go. Now he's got both his restricted slots taken out. All right. Over here. We're gonna play this guy. Okay, now we're going to go questing. Remember, if we quest unsuccessfully, trigger all lost effects that may be in play. Alright, so questing for 1, 2, 3. Well, actually, before we do that, do we want to... Let's be greedy. Let's be greedy and sneak attack Aristor. I would never do something like this if I thought this was like a hard quest. Let's sneak attack Aristor. So we're going to put him in play. He comes back to our hand at the end of the round. We're going to discard a card from our hand to draw a card. Okay. And then we're going to quest for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Toss a resource to Aragorn. Spend 1 to ready him. And technically, if we were to sneak attack him again, we could draw another card, because when he comes into play again, he'd be a new card, the limit once per round thing. Okay, and then over here we'll quest for 5. So we're questing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there's 5 here. So technically we're making 5 progress right now. So here we go. Attach this card to a location in the staging area with the highest combined threat and remaining quest points. Well, that's this one. Each enemy revealed in the counter deck gains search. That's terrible. Well, I really hope we don't get another enemy. I might want to consider canceling that and just going to the next card. But the good news is we're going to take this out this round, so I'm going to risk it and just going to hope the next thing is an enemy. And it is. Of course it is. When revealed, the first player draws, and this is called, by the way, I love the artwork. There's only one of these in there. It's called Gathering Ground. It's just coming at us. The first player draws a card, then that player must choose and discard 4 cards from his hand if able. That's going to be a disaster. So we draw a card and we discard 4. Okay, Surge. Okay, thank God. The Mountain's Roots. Okay. I'm going to exhaust this to put 2 progress here. That's going to discard him. And then I'm going to use the Cave Torch to put 3 progress here. When the Cave Torch is exhausted, we discard a top card of the encounter deck. If it's an enemy, add to the staging area. The Surge will not be revealed because it's just added, not revealed. The Surge will not be resolved, I should say. Okay, Abandon Mine. Okay, that's going to put 3 progress here, and that's going to discard this location. Thank God. I don't need to worry about that no more. And then now here's what we're dealing with. So for question, remember what I said was for 10. Then we have 1, 2, 3 because it's the number of players in the game plus 1 because it's a location from our thing here. 4, 5, 6. So we made 4 progress. Do we discard cards for Eowyn? I think not, because actually, let's Strider's Path, that second location. It was the last card that came out, so I don't have any more information. So we're going to travel there immediately. Okay, and now we've made... I don't want to discard any cards for Eowyn because, well, we'll just discard the Good Meal for Eowyn, and I don't want to discard any of that. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 up against 3. So made 8 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is done. Okay, he's going to... He doesn't actually engage anyone yet, which is fine with me. So Aristor's going to come back to my hand, and we'll just leave him up there. And we will go ahead and refresh. First player draws an extra card. Oh, did I not? There we go. There it is. Okay, let's play Arwen. I think to make this quest harder, it should add, like, if there's no locations in the staging area, the first location gains Surge, or the first treachery gains Surge. Same thing that the fourth quest in the first cycle did, Hills of Emon Wheel. Both of these are about locations. A lot of them are about locations. So, if I think there was an opportunity there to make this quest a little harder with that. But I shouldn't be asking to make these quests harder in this game because they're plenty hard already. Alright, we'll put the Steward of Gondor on this guy. Exhaust for 2 resources. Oops. Since he won't be defending, so any shadow effects, discard attachments will be alright with that. Okay. Here we go. Questing. Quest for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When she exhausts, she's going to name Aragorn as a sentinel, +1 we'll actually name her as a sentinel. It's +1 defense. Aragorn's already a sentinel. These two will exhaust. He'll toss 1 resource to Aragorn and spend 1 to ready. Okay. Draw a card for encounter. Mountains Roots, let's go ahead and Strider's Path that again. Travel there immediately. Second card. Goblin Faller engages the last player. There we go. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do we want to discard anything? I think we'll discard this. I think we're going to pass this anyway, right? 7 progress. Right now we're making 7 progress, so. Yeah, that's fine. Boom. Okay. Alright, we'll leave him up there for 1 more round. And this should be at 11. Yeah, I think, you know what? I'm going to be greedy again. I'm going to sneak attack Aristor. Okay. Because I just want to kill this guy. Then I'm going to use his ability to discard a card and draw a card. And then we're just going to block with him. Oh, it's another Aristor. How about that? So that'll work out. We'll block. And see what his thing is. Okay, no shadow effect. He deals 3 damage, 1 defense. He actually survived that thing. Wow. I did not want that to happen. I actually wanted him to die to trigger Horn of Gondor. Alright. And then we'll attack with these 2 for 6, which is just enough to kill him. Does 4 damage with 2 defense. And then Legolas, we're going to take a risk here. And Legolas is going to trigger his 2 progress on here and defeat this. And then it says, Quest 2A, continuing eastward. Time carries no weight in the darkness, and the hours creep by with no end in sight. The number of orcs in the mines increase as you head toward the east gate, but there appears to be little real organization within their ranks. You press onward. Okay, 17 quest points to defeat. It says, the first player makes a locate test. If this test is failed, reveal cards from the encounter deck equal to the number of players in the game and add in the staging area, then trigger all lost effects in play. Okay, so you have to defeat this to win the game. Now, the way a locate test works is you discard a card from your hand, and then you discard a card from the top of the encounter deck, and you keep doing that until it says pass. If you don't pass, you don't pass the locate test. So, or you can choose to stop at any time if you want, but that would be stupid. Roughly like 4 like 1 in 4 cards. It's a little less, but it's like roughly 1 in 4 cards in here has a pass icon on the bottom like this, which means every 4 cards statistically you should pass. And I've only seen 2 passes enter the discard pile, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 cards are already out here. So it's exactly about 1 in 4 there. So we'll start by discarding this. See if we pass. We did not. Okay, first player's, and I made sure to clear this round because the first player has more cards than the second player, and if we pass on next round, we definitely fail the locate test, almost assuredly. So we'll discard this guy. Let's see if we pass. We passed, second card, so that was really lucky. That's also one of the hardest cards in the game, and it's a forced effect, so it sucks if you want to use Northern Tracker on this. Yeah, it basically forces you into a locate test every round. That's insane. It's insane. That's a good candidate for Thrower's Key. Anything that blanks locations. Or just leave it up there. Like, don't even put progress on it. Okay, so we passed that locate test. He comes back to my hand at the end of the round. Or at the end of the phase, I should say. Okay, and now we're going to go to the combat phase. We're still going to leave this dude up there. Okay. So, refresh. Extra card for the first player. Trigger Steward of Gondor. Then we're going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4 on Aerostor. Then we're going to discard Aerostor to draw a card. We're going to play Campfire Tales, so both players draw a card. Okay. And I'm not going to play those Bladed Gondolanes because I need cards in my hand in case we get a locate test. I'm not going to play any of that stuff. But I don't think we'll quest out of this round. I think we'll need another round. Alright. Here we go. Questing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Toss him a resource. Spend 1 to ready. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to make Aragorn a double sentinel and give him +1 defense. So here we go. No, actually, we'll make her a sentinel. Give her +1 defense. First card. Mountain's Roots. Second card. Oh, that guy sucks. That's what you need that's what we need Thalin or Hail of Stones for. He's terrible. That's gonna hurt. So over here we're gonna spend 2 to play Stand and Fight. We're gonna pull this dude into play from our discard pile, and then we're gonna exhaust him to put 2 progress on and discard him. Put 2 progress here. We're just gonna get rid of this. X is the number of players in the game. $12 up against 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do 4 progress. Let's discard 2 cards for AON. Okay, so make 6 progress. Taking a risk. Okay, and now this guy will engage here, and we'll optionally engage this guy. Deal on both shadow cards. We're just going to try to quest out next round. Okay, we could take some undefendeds and see what happens, but I don't want to risk anything, so we'll defend here with Aragorn. Oh, and then after this guy engages me, I have to discard a card from my hand too. Yikes. Okay, defend with Aragorn. Cancel all damage to him. Okay. And over here. See, if I take this undefended and get lucky, we could attack with both of these guys and kill him. But we're gonna play it safe. Okay. We'll attack. Ranged attack. Oh, it's not gonna do anything. Never mind. Okay. I needed to play one of those. Alright. So that's the end of combat. Detach. Attach. Okay, let's see if we can get lucky and quest out next round. Extra card for the first player. Okay. Oh, we got this. Alright. I'm going to spend 2 and play Gleowine. And then I'm going to exhaust Gleowine to have the first player draw a card. Okay. And over here, I'm going to use Steward of Gondor. I'm going to discard, well actually, let's play Gandalf for 5. We'll draw 3 cards. Okay, and now I'm going to discard this guy to draw a card with Aristor's ability. Okay. I'm going to spend 1 on Blade of Gondolin. Okay. Now we're going to go questing and see if we can get out of this. Toss a resource to Aragorn, spend 1 to ready. Questing for 16. Let's see what we get. Ooh, that helps. Durance Grieve. First player attack. Oh, and then, by the way, she's going to make her a Sentinel. Same thing as last time. First player attaches Durance Grieve to a hero of his choice as an attachment. We're going to put that on Aragorn. First player chooses Aragorn. Okay, that was a card break. There's only one of those in the... There's like these little Durin set of armor that you find, like an axe and a helmet in the next quest, and then you find this one in this quest. And you just find them as you go through Moria. It's a nice little like one break card they put in there for you. Alright, Abandoned Mine. Okay, there's that. So 3. So we have... $13 progress. Should be enough to beat it right there. So, yeah. That, my friends, is the Long Dark. There are some pretty nasty effects you can run into, like this. You could run into the Goblin Chieftain, Goblin Warlord. But overall, and then these guys, you know, we just got lucky with our draws. Everything kind of happened in the right order. This is tough. This can be tough. But it all worked out because we actually had less cards in our hand than I usually do in this quest. But it still worked out. We ducked and dived and dodged through Moria to get through it. So next up will be Foundations of Stone. And it'll be sort of a harder version of that with some more complicated mechanics. But yeah, that's the Lost Tests and the Long Dark. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.